What's going on? Happy Wednesday. So today, one of the questions I get asked all the time by dads is how do you manage the work-life balance, right? Especially for the first responder community and the men that I work with in this community, having been a first responder for over 15 years, I know what it's like because there's tons of shift work, low staffing. You're always being pulled. You're always working overtime. A lot of first responders also, they are the breadwinners for their household, right? So they're always working overtime to make ends meet. And so I constantly, these are the phrases that I hear over and over again. How do you leave work and not bring it home, right? How can I find new ways to find balance? How do I balance putting food on the table and making sure that kids are raised right? Balancing it all. How do I manage my household and get everything done that's asked of me? These are the most common phrases I hear over and over and over again. And what I will say too is, and I want to say before I jump into this topic of work-life balance, I have been in positions where, man, my marriage was wrecked, and I've probably been divorced almost 6 times. Like, I get it. There's times where like the D word is being mentioned, the divorce, or even worse, I think for people is if their kids and their connection with their kids is not solid. And so I've had that too, where it's like, man, I've had my kids spit on me, hit me into the point where I had to walk out of the house and leave because things were just getting so like amped up. And so when the kids don't respect you and there's no love and there's no connection, there's no trust, nobody can trust you. And you're constantly just in this wave of like, how do I balance this? Right. How do I balance it all? How do I maintain this connection that I know is so important, but I'm not able to do it? Right. And so I want to give you some really clear tactical things that you can do. I'm going to go over 4 topics. These are things that I have seen work with my own clients. So not only has it transformed my life, I'm here to tell you that I'm living like my best marriage ever, and a dad of 2 kids and a busy entrepreneur who's just wrote a best-selling book and is launching more programs. Like, I get it. Like, it just never ends, right? It never ends. But I'm telling you, it's possible. And that's why I want you to know that there's hope. And not only am I living proof of it, but I've also helped other men do the same thing. And it's just making these little tweaks. And so here's the thing. Number 1, you got to be thinking about this. You got to be thinking about your clarity, your vision. All of us have, if you're like me, you're, what I would call the alpha male. I don't know if that's a good term, but just in the sense that we're driven, we're motivated. We want to accomplish things. We want to go, go, go. We want to generate, right? And that's really positive, especially from the masculine identity. It's very, very positive. But sometimes it just feels like it never stops, right? And we're just go, go, go. And so things get put on the back burner. And it's usually our family, right? So a lot of us have clarity and we have vision when it comes to our work. When it comes to work and when it comes to household, when it comes to work, dreams, financial, all those kind of things, we have a lot of good clarity on where we want to go there. But if I were to ask you, what's your goal for your family? Many of you probably couldn't answer me. You'd be like, I don't know. Like, isn't it just supposed to happen? Like, isn't that just how things go? Don't things just, you just kind of become a dad and that's it. Like, life is good. Well, because nobody's actually thought about this, or you haven't thought about it, you don't have an actual mental vision or a place to go with your family. You don't even know how to lead as a dad because you're just leading by off the cuff, right? It's just kind of like, well, I hope this works, right? And so because there's no clarity, because there's no vision of where you want to take your family, you're probably going to be limited. You're probably going to be suffering. You're going to be dealing with this work-life balance struggle because you don't even know where you want to take these guys. And so everything just feels out of control when you're with them, right? So be very clear with your family. What is your vision for them? Start figuring that out, okay? That's number 1. The second thing I would ask you is, what are your values? What do you hold yourself to being as a dad, as a father? And again, most times when I ask people what their values are, they've got some great responses. A lot of times their values are they're generous, they're kind, they're a person of integrity, right? These are all really good values. But if I were to ask you, what are your values again surrounding your family? Like, who do you say you are? What's the kind of man you want to be for them? What's the kind of leader? Who do you want your kids to be? Many of you couldn't answer that. And I see that all the time. And so because you don't know what your values are, when the tough times get tough and you're working tons of hours and you're not there and you can't be, that's when a lot of problems arise, right? That's when a lot of times there's a lot of friction because you don't hold yourself to any clear set values for yourself and for your family. And because of that, again, when there's low staffing and you're being called on and you're working overtime, you're not committed to those values. There's no commitment. Willpower is waning. I see this in the fitness world with diets all the time, right? Willpower, we know it's really hard to keep willpower going. Like, man, I just really want to be a good dad, or I really want to stick to this diet and I'm going to try really hard. Well, it's really hard to do that over time, but I'll tell you what doesn't wane over time as much as willpower, and that is your values, because there's a magnetic pole that gravitates you into that, that just pulls you a lot stronger than anything like willpower. It's really easy to lose willpower when a pink box of donuts walks in front of your face. You're like, man, do I have the willpower to not eat this donut, or am I going to eat it? Well, a lot of people don't have that willpower because they don't know their values. They're not committed to the value of health, right? And that's just an example. But what are your values surrounding how you want to be an amazing father? Number 3, and by the way, stick around to the fourth one, because the fourth one's going to blow your mind. I paid another parenting coach about, I think, $1,400. And this was like a big secret that she gave me. And it's something that I implement in my family all the time. And it's just been super, super transformational. And it's probably been the number one thing that's I've seen transform a lot of other dads and families' life by just implementing this one thing. So stick around. I promise we're going to get to number 3 though. So number 4, stick around. That's the $1,400 tip. I should have mentioned that earlier for anybody that's watching live. Number 3 though, what is your calendar? What is your schedule? What is your priorities? Any guy that tells me, man, I don't know how to work, I don't have enough time in the day, I'm always like, well, show me your calendar. Show me your calendar and let's see where we can find time. A lot of times people don't want to do that because they know, oh boy, that's the truth. I can find some time, you know. How many hours do you need to sleep? Most guys 6, 7. 7's like the optimal. So you got 7 hours, you're working 12, you're working 10, so that's 17. Let's just say 17 hours, 10 plus 7, 17 hours. Now you've got an extra 6 hours in this 24-hour day, right? 6, 7 hours. So between sleep and work. So where in there are you going to commit to spending some family time? You were talking about work-life balance, man. How do I balance it all? How do I figure out to spend time with the family, but still be devoted to work, making money, going to the gym, working out? Because that's important too. Well, I just showed you, you've got probably, unless you're working 12s, which I know, or you're working on the front end of a shift or something, you've got an hour at least where you can start devoting your time. And I'm telling you, the only way you're going to do that is by scheduling that time in. If it's not scheduled, it doesn't happen. Period. Everything on my life now is on a Google Calendar. It seems even ridiculous. Even my wife in the past would say, are you kidding me? Like, I have to make an appointment to see you. And I'm like, kind of. Like, I mean, it's that's the way it is. That's the way it is. If it's not scheduled, it's not happening. You guys know that. If it's because when you schedule something, you prioritize it. That's why I wrote priorities down there. What are you prioritizing? Most of us are prioritizing a whole bunch of other crap. And sometimes there's going to be days where you just don't have the time. And I'm going to give you that tip of like, what do you do when you don't have the time? What do you do when you don't have the time to spend quality time with your family, go to work, go to the gym, be healthy, go to the grocery store, do all these things? What do you do when you don't have that kind of time? I'm going to talk to you, and this is going to be the last one. It's going to be really, really impactful for you guys because you're not going to believe it's like, come on, no way. It's impossible. It's so simple. Like, can it really make that much of a paid that much of a dividend? And in my family, and the fact of the matter is that it can. So what are your priorities? You gotta schedule it. It's got to be in the calendar, prioritize it. Otherwise it doesn't happen. I know that for me, we do a lot of date nights. If I don't schedule in the calendar, those date nights they come and go. Whoops, I missed that week. How often does that happen, right? You guys know that. Drop me a comment if you're watching live and you know that happens for a fact. All right. Number 4, this is the last one. This is going to totally transform your family life, that work-life balance that we're all seeking. And that is this idea called special time. So I have 2 kids. So I devote every day to them special time with each of them individually. Okay. And what special time is just a time where we get to connect on a one-on-one basis and do whatever the heck they want, whatever it is. I don't care. And usually, as you know, if anybody has kids, there's some stupid games that they like to play, and there's games that we don't want to play with them. And it's like, I don't want to play that game. Doesn't matter. You're going to do it on special time. Okay. You're going to do it on special time. And so here's the neat thing about it. I schedule only 10 minutes, just 10 minutes of special time every day. It can be longer, but as you know, when you start saying, oh, I need to spend an hour with this kid because 10 minutes is not enough, you would be very surprised at how much 10 minutes can transform a kid's life. When you're actually 10 minutes of being just present, you don't have your phone out and you're doing whatever the heck they want. They are finally being seen, heard, and loved by you. And there's that connection. You're starting to rebuild that. The more and more you do this, and you think about it, if you're just saving money, right? You save money every day. If you save $5 every day over a year, and then you put that in a compound interest account, it compounds over years. Imagine the money you're putting in the bank that's going to compound for these kids, right? 5-7 years. Imagine the amount of trust and connection that you're going to build over that time, because I know for sure I didn't have it. And that's why when I was, disciplining my kids or trying to, if I was disciplining them or trying to, what's the word? Sorry, I just saw a comment come through. But if I was trying to discipline them or just tell them to do something simple, they didn't respect me. That was the bottom line. They didn't respect me. And that's when I got into so much friction with them. And the reason they didn't respect me is because they didn't feel connected to me. They didn't feel like I was seeing them. And so I'm telling you right now, if you just do 10 minutes a day, I have 2 kids, so that's pretty simple. It's just 2 kids, 10 minutes each person. This will change your marriage and it will change your relationship with your kids. I promise you. So start doing that right away. I've seen it transform. I had a client come through and we were actually working on health goals with him, and he was a first responder as well. He just implemented this one thing and it transformed the levity of everything going on in his life. And we came for health goals. Yeah, I actually helped with his health too. But what was really amazing was just the dynamics. Think about it. Your health, your family, your mental health, it's all connected, right? It's not all one. And so that's this whole idea of work-life balance, that there's no really such thing. It's all one thing. And that's why people struggle with it, because they're like, well, I can be a really good, worker. And then but then sometimes not a good dad, or sometimes I can be a great dad and then not a great worker. No, it's all one thing. There's no balance. That's the funny thing about it. There's no balance. You got to just accept the fact that there's no balance and just start prioritizing. And so the more you prioritize and you just schedule in those 10 minutes, and I give the kids, and think about how cool that is for the kids. They're always being told what to do. Now they finally get a chance to be able to have autonomy, and they get to tell you what they're going to do. And you get to just love them in that moment. And it's set a timer for 10 minutes. And if it goes past 10, and you guys are having a good time and you have the time, then continue. But as long as they know that this is their dedicated time, they're going to be so happy. I promise you. Cottrell said, bro, if it's not on the calendar and I forget, I also use the calendar to hold myself personally accountable. Yeah. I mean, see, this guy is a go-getter. I know him very well. This guy is a go-getter and a hard worker. And I mean, he said it himself. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. And I know the same for me. So that's why that third point that I brought up, being held accountable. I'm sorry, not being held accountable, but that's one aspect. That's another aspect. But being intentional, right? And you use the calendar to do that by scheduling and prioritizing it. So anyways, I hope these tips were helpful. I hope this just starts to bring some levity and okay, I can use this. I hope this was a good strategy session. It's worked so many times for other people. So let me know how that lands and if how that starts to work in your own life. I can promise you it's done magical things in my own family life. And I really want that to happen for you. So let me know how that works in the comments and give me some feedback. Also, I've created I created an Elite Dad wellness guide. Okay. And it's got some of these principles, and it really goes over the top 3 impediments that a lot of people face. Everybody faces, not just dads, but everybody. I see this across the board, the 3 human impediments that gets everybody and gets in their way. And then I give some really nice outlines. How do we balance mind, body, spirit? And I have it all in this nice little wellness guide. So if you guys want that, go ahead and just comment below. Just say, hey, I want it. Drop me a line letting me know you want it. And I will send that to you ASAP. So I hope this was helpful. Share it with others, and feel free to drop me a line, and I'll be sure to send you my wellness and habit guide for elite dads and fathers and husbands that want to take their marriage and family life to the next level. Have an amazing rest of your week, guys. I hope this was helpful.